Thank you for watching this episode of the 5-Minute Bible. Today, let's do a quick overview of the book of Leviticus. The word Leviticus comes from the Latin word pertaining to the Levites, which points to the book's focus on priestly activity among the people of God. Moses lays out Leviticus more like a legal document than a story, specifying important details the people of God must know if they are to live in the presence of a holy God. The entire book takes place while the people of God are at the foot of Mount Sinai after being freed from slavery recorded in Exodus. Leviticus begins by detailing the 5 main offerings required from the people of God. The first offering detailed is the burnt offerings, which were sacrifices to show a person's commitment to the Lord. Next mentioned is the meal offerings or grain offerings, which was a grain offered as a sacrifice. The third sacrifice was the peace offerings, where animals were partially burned up and sacrificed to the Lord. The rest of the animal was eaten in a meal together to show the fellowship Israel had with their God. The fourth offering listed was the sin offering. The offender was to offer a bull, goat, dove, or flower depending upon their financial position. The last sacrifice was the guilt offering. This offering was required when someone needed to atone for unintentional sins against another, or if they found themselves defiled by sin, they were required to provide a lamb, goat, or 2 doves as an offering. This first section of Leviticus is rounded out by stipulating the priest's work for each of the sacrifices enumerated. The Lord instructed Moses to set aside Aaron and his sons as priests of Israel. They were consecrated and installed as priests of Israel and then offered their first sacrifice to the Lord. In order to make sure the priest and people understood the absolute holiness of Yahweh, the tragic story of Nadab and Abihu, Aaron's 2 sons, is recorded. They brought strange fire into the temple, broke the holiness code of God, and were struck dead by the Lord because of this. Now that the people were instructed in offerings and the priests were installed and ready, Yahweh instructs the people on what it means to be clean in the sight of God. God is holy, and only those who are clean can approach Him. The important point to note in this section is that if someone found themselves in an unclean state because of their sin, then a sacrifice was required to cleanse them. Chapter 16 gives the high point of the book, and perhaps the high point of the entire Pentateuch. The Lord tells Moses the procedure for the Day of Atonement. Once a year, the high priest would enter the Holy of Holies and would sprinkle the blood of the sacrifice on the mercy seat. This is one of the most important feasts described in the Old Testament. It is through this priestly act of offering sacrifice on behalf of the people of God that Israel's sins were symbolically atoned for. Holiness and cleanliness is the focus over the next several sections of Leviticus. First, specifics regarding atonement and sacrifice are given. Next, the Lord itemized a wide array of personal conduct for both people and priests. Then Yahweh specifies special days the people of God must stop and notice. Leviticus finishes with 2 important sections. The first of these, the Lord assures His people that living in holiness is good for them. He cataloged the blessings they would receive if they would walk in His statutes, but the Lord also cataloged the curses that would befall them for disobedience. The second important section and the last portion of the book of Leviticus provides instructions to the people of God regarding vows made to Yahweh. Over 40 times Leviticus tells the reader, "The Lord spoke," showing us that this is not a man-made religion, but instead is God's requirements to sinful people if they were to live in His presence again. Throughout the book, we hear the ideas of holiness, clean and unclean, and atonement. The reader comes away understanding that the God we serve is a holy God, and He will not allow sin in His presence. So only the high priest, who has been set apart as holy, can enter the Holy of Holies once a year. Then only the priests can enter the tabernacle. The rest of Israel living in the camp are considered clean, and those who are outside the camp are considered unclean. If any person comes in contact with the unclean or behaves in a way that makes them unclean, the only way to approach the holy God, the only way to become clean again, is through sacrifice. It is in this that the book of Leviticus shows us the grace of God. He provided a way for unclean humans to become not only clean, but holy through the sacrifice of His Son, Jesus Christ. Thanks for watching the 5-Minute Bible. Please take a minute, subscribe to my YouTube channel so you won't miss new episodes. You can stay connected to me through my Facebook page or my email. You can download free resources at 2t22.org/free, including a book of outlines of every book of the Bible. I pray you have been encouraged and built up in your faith in Jesus Christ. If so, please pass this on to others. That is, after all, the 2 Timothy 2:2 objective.